Hey guys, we're down here in the turbo shop just finishing up one of our HE builds. We gotta put the actuator on and calibrate it, which is part of our quality control process to get it ready boxed up for you. Let's get to it. So, first thing we gotta do before we put the actuator on is make sure we get it all nice and greased up for you. We have some nice O-ring grease. Make sure it seals up really good. This is to make sure that the turbo seals properly. So the coolant that runs through the turbos here is in this pocket here. We want to make sure that it seals up really nicely and we don't get any coolant leaks. And as well, this is the actuator arm inside of here. That's actually what drives the arm within the turbo. We want to make sure that no coolant leaks between those two areas and it all seals up nicely. We want to make sure that the gear teeth mesh nicely and don't have any binding between them. And then we're going to put it on the turbo here. Connect the actuator to the E-tool. You can see that it's moving here. Start our calibration process. Make sure the actuator isn't connected to the turbo. And then make sure we have our sector shaft pushed all the way over here. Now that it's initialized and the actuator knows where it's supposed to be, we're going to put it onto the turbo. Tighten down the fasteners, make sure it's on there nice and tight before we get it calibrated. All right, so with the actuator installed now, we're gonna confirm the installation here. What it's going to do is it's going to do a span check, so it's going to shift the cage inside the turbo to go both sides of the cycle, and then double check the span to make sure everything's fitting properly. As you can see, our install and calibration has been a success, and the span is right there in the middle of the range we want it to be. We are then going to double check the configuration and do a secondary span check to make sure that after the first one, everything is reading properly. And you can kind of hear it there. It runs the actuator and the cage through another cycle to make sure everything's good. Again, we have a span check there of 286, passes the response time and both ends of the span. What we do before we send it out to you guys is we actually write down the span check on this little card here, so we know that what you get is proper. Next step is to do a hysteresis check, which is just to make sure that when it goes through its cycle, it doesn't go outside of the bounds. You can hear it run through the check from both ends of the span. There we go. And you can see it runs it from the bottom all the way to the top and then back down. And you can see that it's operating within the realm that we want it to. Pass on the test result there. Last step. We do one final learn to make sure that all the internal references and the actuator has learned its positions. And there you go. One final test result pass. This thing is good to go. So we're just wrapping it up here to make sure no oil gets out. Everything stays nice and tidy inside. Do a little bit of foam packaging, comes out into the package nice and hot, and does a nice tight fit all around the turbo to keep it safe on its way to you. Another layer on top to make sure everything fits in nice and tight. And last but definitely not least is our package with the install manual, needed fasteners, as well as the balance sheet for the turbo from when we do the high-speed balancing. And there we go, behind the scenes look at how we got our turbos calibrated and ready for you right out of the box.